sister moon, I seldom see you, seldom hear your tune, preoccupied with selfish misery.
Greetings, Uncle Travelling Matt here. I'm actually on day 6 of my Camino of St. Francis of Assisi, but I'm going to report now on day 5. So I woke up in the monastery in Camaldoli and packed my stuff together, dressed my foot. I was feeling quite good, to be honest, like really quite positive. Had a breakfast, which was excellent. Had another chat with the Italian couple, and also with Ferdinand, the guy from Germany, and then I chilled out a bit. So I had a wander around. I wanted to see if I could get some souvenirs, but unfortunately there were none. There was a place called the Antica Pharmacia, which means ancient pharmacy, which is part of the monastery, and I thought it might actually be a pharmacy where I could buy some, like ibuprofen and stuff, but no, it was more like a museum of pharmacies, and I think the monastery has a long history of healing ills. And there wasn't a lot for sale there, but there was some chocolate, so I bought some high quality chocolate. And then about 10 o'clock I set off. Not a long stretch, as I said before, 8.5 kilometers. Probably the shortest on the whole Camino. And the reason is because there's only really one stop on Sanctuario della Verna, which is the next important place. Well, there are 2 stops, but you either do short and long or long and short. And the German guidebook does long and short, but the English guidebook does short and long. And as far as I'm concerned, that was good, because I'd basically pushed myself to the max over the previous days and needed an easier day. And I'm glad it was short because it was tough. Now, at the very beginning, I couldn't go on the path because it was blocked off. But they'd made a detour, and by God, it was steep. It was like literally like 45 degrees steep, almost like a scramble up. And the climb for the first 2 or 2.5, 3 kilometers was murder. It was really bad. So steep, in the forest again, so uneven. But there was an extra danger, something else. And that was that there'd obviously been some kind of storm and loads of trees had fallen over the path. So I was having to climb over trees half the time, which was a pain. Anyway, after about 3 kilometers or so, I got to Rifugio Cotozzo, which is a refuge up in the mountains where you can sleep if you get stranded whilst hiking. And I sat and I had my lunch there, and it was glorious. I had cheese and olives and bread, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Yeah, a bit of wine. Never before has cheap wine tasted so good than it does on this Camino, when you worked up to it. But anyway, so that was that. And then, and it had been quite sunny at this stage. But after that, the path, there was a short climb up to the very top, which was about 1,200 meters. And so, it started about 800, so a 400 meter climb. It was pretty big. But then the problem was, although the path leveled off, it was never quite level, so it was up and down all the way. But also it got really cold, and I think it had been quite cold a lot up there because there are even bits of snow on the ground. Although in the evening, a couple that had been up to the Eremo showed me their pictures up there, and it was literally snowbound up there. So I'm quite glad they didn't go that way. So that was that, and then it dropped down, and the descent was vile. It was vile. I really, really struggle with the descents because I've got this problem with my big toe, and the descents push the toe into the toe of the boot. And I looked at it, and the nail on the big toe looks like it maybe had been pushed off the nail, but it's very painful anyway. But yeah, so that was fun. But and of course, then my ankle started to throb as well. But, it wasn't that long. We finished at about 800 odd meters, more or less where it started. And I was in the town of Badia Prataglia, which is apparently a resort town, but it was a bit of a dead resort town when I got there. My pension was, when I got there, pension giardiniera. I got in there, nobody there, completely deserted, dinged the bell, shouted buongiorno. Nobody there, so I sat and read a chapter or two of my book, and then this woman turned up. I think she was the cleaner. And she was like, oh yeah, you have a room. So she showed me my room, and it was the dingiest room I've ever had. Freezing cold, and they had this tiny little heater going in the corner because the radiators didn't work. The bedside light didn't work. It was just crap. So anyway, what I thought is, sod this, I'll go into town and get some food for my lunch the next day into the supermarket, and also go to the pharmacy. But it was Sunday and everything was shut. The only place that was open was a bar, so I just sat in there for an hour or two. And the moment I got in the bar, it started to chuck it down. So I think God was looking after me, because I read my book, I surfed the internet a little bit, and I bought some food. I ate a little bit of food and then bought some, like pizza and whatever for the next day, and had a couple of beers, and it was rather nice. And then I made my way to the village church, which was really beautiful and powerful, and I said a prayer in there. And then I went back to the pension and got in bed and just lay a bit comatose. I was really shattered, and saying it wasn't a particularly long stretch, I think it may just be the other stuff catching up with me, because I hadn't spent much time in bed in the monastery, because I've been going to the services. But yeah, that was that. Went for an evening meal in the restaurant next door, and I met a German couple in there who were on this Camino as well. They had walked in a day from Stia. I mean, and they'd gone the Eremo route, so they'd done like over 30 kilometres in a day of that ridiculous terrain, and they were like 60 odd. It's ridiculous. How can anyone be that fit? I don't know. But and why would anyone do that? Really don't know. But their hobby is apparently cycling around the Alps. So yeah, I guess that shows you the level of fitness they're at. So she was from the German-speaking part of Switzerland. Not Switzerland. The German-speaking part of Italy. I didn't even know there was one. It's north of Trieste. It used to be part of the Austrian Empire, and they lost it after World War I. But they both live in Germany, in Augsburg, which is, of course, where Igor was from as well. So this seems to be very popular with Bavarians. And he used to be a taxi driver. He's now retired. And she's a teacher for kids who have issues in school. And she's good at English because she learnt it when she went travelling in Ireland when she was in her early 20s. I had a very pleasant evening talking to them. And it was nice. And then I, went back and did a little bit on the internet, and then went to bed. But I didn't sleep that well. I had these very intense dreams, right, about a girl who I hardly know, and I've never really thought about much, called Hapsat Abatieva, and I dreamt she was in real danger, so I don't know. I hope she isn't. She's quite a sweet girl. But anyway, I don't know why she turned up in my dreams, but she did. So anyway, that's that. That's day 5. I'm now on day 6, but I'll talk about that another time. Uncle Travelling Matt, keep travelling.
The sun and sister moon, I now do see you, I can hear your tune, so much in love with all that I survey.